Hello everyone, thank you for attending my information speech. Today's speech is going to be about the conflict in the Middle East, more specifically in Israel, the Gaza Strip, and the West Bank. So to my audience members, what do you know about the conflict that is going on right now in the Middle East?
They're shooting each other.
Yes, they are.
I know there are more civilians dying than I think actual military combatants that are dying, so it's an unfortunate situation.
Yeah, it's not very good at all. So the war in Gaza has gone on for far too long, since Israel was a country. And so the area that is Israel now, in the 1500s, was taken over by the Ottoman Empire. And up until World War I, it stayed with the Ottoman Empire. The Arabs that were living in the area actually fought back against the Ottoman Empire, the Turks. And so they fought with the Allied forces. Since they did this, they believed that they earned their own country. And the country itself would be called Palestine, but there is no actual Palestine country. So from 1920 to 1948, it was actually ruled by the British government under a League of Nations mandate. League of Nations preceded the United Nations. So the McMahon Agreement, the Arabs that were in the area really felt like they fought back, and that in that agreement it said that they should have their own country in there. So that's why Palestine thinks that they own that country, it's theirs. From 1921 to 1929, actually the Jewish population and the Palestinian population were living peacefully, way more peacefully than today. There wasn't the outbreak of violence like there is today. Jerusalem actually became a battleground after 1929. So Jerusalem it's a sacred center for both religions, Hebrew, so Jewish, and Islam. And so both groups want to live there. And during the 1930s, the more Jewish population actually started moving into Jerusalem. In 10-year span, it actually doubled the amount of Jewish people that were living there, and so that created a lot of conflict between the two groups. So in both sides, actually, before World War II, so between about 1930 and 1941, obviously the Palestinians thought that the land was theirs. The Jewish people just had a cultural heritage there. And that's why they were fighting over Jerusalem. Both of them believed that the British people owed them the land itself, and so they actually were using terrorist attacks against the British government. During World War II, the conflict between the two actually subsided momentarily, and because of the Holocaust, with 6 million Jews dying in Europe, the United Nations that was newly formed in 1947 accepted the Palestine zone into Gaza and the West Bank, and they created Israel. So as soon as that happened, the British government left all their troops, left all the military, and so it was just these two groups there. The day after Israel was named a country, the surrounding Arab countries, so Egypt, Jordan, and Syria, invaded Israel. Israel had a lot of backing because the United Nations felt terrible about what had happened during World War II, that they actually prevailed. So this Israel, the country itself, is the size of New Jersey. So it's a very small piece of land that they're all fighting against. In present day, a lot of things have happened since World War II and since the fighting that has happened. In the 1990s, the leader of the Palestinians was Yasser Arafat, maybe the most recognizable figure for the Palestinians. They were the closest with Israel in creating an agreement together. So actually in 2000, they were at Camp David. So the leader of the Israelis and the leader, Yasser Arafat, of the Palestinians were in Camp David in the United States trying to agree on what to do next. what had happened was that the Israelis actually unexpectedly offered a two-state solution, which meant that Gaza and West Bank would be just Palestinian zones, and then the rest, including Jerusalem, would be the Jewish zone. And so Yasser Arafat didn't know that they were actually going to come up with this agreement, so he rejected it because he was reluctant to accept remaining Jewish presence in East Jerusalem, as well as he wanted to hold out for the Palestinian right to return, which was from 1918 and World War I. Can a two-state solution work now? It's very tough. Actually, in the last 20 years, they've been going in the opposite direction. They've been fighting more. Now with the most recent outbreak, Gaza, so these red zones are actually militarized zones. They can't move in and out. Israel has blockades everywhere in these zones, and so the Palestinians can't travel loosely like we can in the United States. Now, the most recent outbreak, the Palestinians, under the Hamas, which is the leadership in Gaza, built a network of tunnels in this little area, and the Israelis found it, started bombing Gaza, and that's where we are during this month, the most recent outbreak. So the war in Gaza has been going on for far too long. Many people died, many civilians have died, people that don't deserve it, haven't done anything. And so far the outlook on the whole situation is very bleak. And if the war is not ended, there will be untold tragedy. It will continue, and the world will just watch on, because there's not too much that we can do to make them like each other. So thank you guys so much for listening to my speech. Have a great day.